Hey, Bruce Naylor here, your Boomer Consumer, and I wanted to share with you the recent purchase I made for my vintage Pioneer Blue Line collection. And this is the Pioneer SX-D7000. Let's refer to it as the 7000 for the purposes of this video. Picked this up on eBay, mostly recapped. Everything that matters has been repaired. It has LED replacement bulbs in it, so it should be good for many, many years. Now, the seller wanted me to actually open it up and show you the caps, but being that this thing weighs 42.5 pounds, measures almost 22 inches in width and 18 inches in depth, it's a monster, and I didn't really feel like moving around and doing all that. But nonetheless, that work had been done on it, so this should be good for many, many years to come. So, sold in 1980 for $800, about $2,700 today. This really was the pinnacle of the monster receiver wars, and this is, I think, Pioneer's exercise in industrial design, because other receivers, including the SX-3900, which is very, very similar spec-wise to this machine, all have lots of switches and knobs and so forth. There's only two knobs on this machine, the volume control and then the balance control. That's it. The rest of it is all push button or slider switches. Now, being a monster receiver, you expect it to have monster specs, and it does. This thing rocks 120 watts per channel. Back when they truly measured 120 watts per channel at 0.005% distortion using a non-switching DC amp. I believe that's basically a Class A amplifier with what Pioneer called varia bias on there. I'm not going to get in all the technical stuff on there, but this amplifier is nothing short of amazing performance-wise and holds up really good today up against some of the highest-end amplifiers out there on the market. And you can also use this as both a preamplifier or an amplifier if you want to. Okay, taking a look at the back of the D7000, you have an AM MPX output for stereo, or for AM stereo, I should say, which I don't think really ever took off. Two phono inputs, an auxiliary in. You support for two different recording decks, could be a cassette and a reel-to-reel, whatever you want to do there. An adapter for equalizers or signal processors. You can bypass the preamp, you can bypass the amplifier on here if you wish, and you also have connections for not one, not two, but three different sets of speakers. You can play two at the same time. And then you have three AC outlets. So let's do a tour of the front, which is divided into three separate sections. The first section has to deal with the power, your tone controls, headphone jack on here. And then your midsection is basically all your switching on here. And the third section has to do with the AM/FM tuning on the receiver. So starting on the left, you have your buttons to control your A, B, C speakers, tone bypass. You have a low filter in case you get like turntable rumble, whatever. You can also put it in a mono mode. And then you have two different tone controls, and this is a slider switch. These LEDs actually light up. If you just tap the tone controls, they come on. And then you have turnovers at either 5 kilohertz or 2.5 on the treble, 200 hertz or 400 hertz on the bass. Of course, your power, your headphone jack right here. In the middle section, these actually light up as you change sources right here. Go back under here. So your AM, FM, AM auxiliary, your phono 1, phono 2, tape monitor circuits, tape monitor 1, tape monitor 2, an adapter button. And then you have the ability to duplicate from tapes 1 to 2, 2 to 1, or turn it off completely. You can dim the blue fluoroscan meters on here, dim those. You can adjust if you have a turntable going, whether you want it as a moving magnet or moving coil. A loudness button, and I wish modern integrated amplifiers and so forth had loudness, because a lot of times I listen to this kind of on the low side, but this, I don't know what the super magic is, but it just brings back some of the bass and so forth to the receiver. And then a muting button. Now remember, back in those days, they didn't have remote controls, but you had a mute button on there. Volume knob, bounce control behind that. Then over here, this is a digital tuner, and not only is quartz, what they call quartz lock on here, but also it features station recall on here, programmable memory on here. So I have 6 different radio stations plugged in, up and down, commit to memory. You have your search, either you can auto or manual search. This FM button here is for Dolby FM, but again, I don't think that's something that ever took off. And then finally you have a mute on there as well. And those are the front controls. I just think, to me, this is an absolutely stunning receiver. But they didn't sell too many of these, right? Probably because of the price, and I think it was just so radically different looking than all the other stuff that was on the market at that time frame. Didn't have the cool VU meters and that kind of thing, or all the switches. This is more industrial design. I think you either really like the looks of it or you really dislike the looks of it. But these are actually pretty rare machines, and I'm glad to have it as part of my collection. So, how does it sound? Well, in one word, I'm using this with the Klipsch RP600Ms, and it sounds outstanding. And I would put this up against a wide variety of higher and integrated amplifiers or amplifiers on the market. The amp itself gives a nice warmth sound to it, very pleasing in the mid-range, very fast, tight bass is coming out of this, not muddy at all, and crystal clear highs with this amplifier. It does an amazing job, and it should. For the specifications, Pioneer really built this machine in a very, very high quality way. As I said, these are very rare machines out on the marketplace. You won't see a lot of them for sale. I love it. I've got a little bit of cosmetic work to finish up on it. There's a slight dent here by the but this is a very thin piece of aluminum, so that's not uncommon to see some type of dent or ding on these. I'd like to replace the volume knob on there. And there's a few miscellaneous white spots. I got some of them off, but some of them are going to be a little bit more difficult to remove. But all in all, it's in really excellent shape for being over 40 years old. I love vintage hi-fi equipment, especially Pioneer. You could say I'm a fanboy on Pioneer. They made great stuff back in the day. And so yeah, I just thought I would share it with you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.